Hey guys, welcome to Boxing Squared for boxing news and views from around the internet. And another heavyweight news and notes mashup video today, starting with Joyce, who's broken his silence over the failed negotiations with Joseph Parker. Remembering both these guys were looking like they were going to fight potentially in July, then talked about for September, and then Joseph Parker walks away from those negotiations and signs with Sky and Boxer. Now Sky and Boxer on Parker's behalf are making an offer to Joyce, but it's pretty unlikely. The fight is dead. So Joyce, he says, "So Mr. Parker, I've always wanted to fight you, and you pretended you wanted the fight, but in reality you say and do everything to avoid me. After it was all agreed, you pulled out of the scheduled date of July 2nd with a BS excuse about your trainer, and then you begged to have the fight pushed to September to have more time to train. I agreed. Then you asked for more stuff. That was all agreed, after saying it was all good for weeks, and then you signed elsewhere. Real talk, you're full of shit, and you don't want the fight. Tell your new promoter I'm fighting on September 24th. If you're not scared, sign the contract. Stop ducking me." And that is Joyce in his message to Joseph Parker, but kind of like sort of shouting into the wind at this point. Parker is on an exclusive contract with Sky and Boxer. He's not going to be lent out to BT and Queensbury to fight Joyce. It's just the reality of the situation. And I did do a video expanding on all this, some of the he said stuff from Frank Warren, Joseph Parker, some of the background stuff. So if you want some more detail and my thoughts on that, particularly at the end regarding Parker walking away and what that really means, because his call-outs are window dressing. It really is at this point. And a few hours before Joyce put that to social media, Joseph Parker had his own post on social media on Instagram story saying, "WBO number 1 versus number 2, £1.2 million not enough, Joyce boxing. Let's make it happen." And I guess my problem with that is you've walked away from negotiations, you've signed a deal to make it so much harder to make this fight. This is window dressing. It really is. If Parker thinks the fight is viable and can be made now, then he is naive in the extreme. But really, this is a campaign to try to make it look like Joyce doesn't want the fight, when in reality, Parker is the one that's made it so much more difficult to make. That is just a fact at this point. And going further, after seeing Joyce's reaction to his Instagram story, so Parker says, "Quiet and make it happen, or stop talking Joyce boxing, fight me now or shut up." So both these guys going back and forth and saying, "Come on, fight me, don't be scared, etc. Let's get it done." It's not getting done. They are on rival networks with rival promoters that are not going to farm the other one out to the other unless there is a purse bid situation. That is not the case at the moment, so these guys are just screaming into the wind. Joseph Parker, no doubt, is going to be facing Dillian Whyte later this year. You can log that now. Joyce, meanwhile, he will be fighting later this week, so I just thought I'd just drop that in there. So he's having a tune-up against Christian Hammer, and yes, Hammer has really fallen that far to be considered a tune-up at this point in his career. Pretty low levels of ambition, negativity, so I mean, Joyce is basically going to go in there and just try to, swarm him, overwhelm him. It looked like Christian Hammer quit against Hughie Fury. He was out of there in 5 rounds. That was due to some injury. I think Joyce needs to go in there and just put it on him. I think he can do that. He can have success. He can club down Hammer and probably make him either quit or actually legitimately stop him. Deontay Wilder is still teasing his potential comeback, telling Premier Boxing Champions, his management company, "I'm definitely considering coming back." This is something that we're trying to figure out and get things situated. I feel a reboost for my career. It's not about financial things. I never have to return to boxing ever again in my life. I've set myself up. And there were a few things in the sort of 20-minute clip, and you can find that on social media on Premier Boxing Champions Instagram and elsewhere, their website. a few things that Wilder said about the time to do things now that he hadn't had before, and just different bits and pieces where it does feel like his foot's half out of the door and he's more sort of leaning towards retirement. But in the same breath, does he want to go out on 2 stoppage losses? Because that does sort of not taint his legacy, but certainly I'm not sure that his ego can handle being stopped twice in a row and retiring like that. Matchroom promoter Eddie Hearn is defending the matchmaking for Derek Chisora and Kubrat Pulev, but he is also saying Derek Chisora's days are numbered as a headliner if he can't beat the likes of Pulev. And ahead of this fight being announced, I was wondering, well, where's Derek Chisora going to go? There seem to be limited options to really get him headlining type events that'll get him the sort of money that he wants to make. So recycling this rematch, yeah, it's okay. I mean, and it really is all on the line. Chisora needs to go in, look good, and get a stoppage or something like that to really sort of continue his run as a headliner. But Hearn's saying, sooner or later, you're going to have to make a call if he keeps on getting beat. Like, if he gets beat to Pulev, even we would turn around and say, Derek, you can't headline again because you can't get in those kind of fights anymore. So he knows the pressure is on in this fight. But what he'll always bring is entertainment, and that's what you look for, especially in a big heavyweight fight like this. And they do have a tagline of carnage for this rematch. Well, let's hope so, that it's far more entertaining than the first fight, which did not catch fire. And for Chisora's hopes in getting big sort of headline events again, he needs to have a good performance. He needs to bring the entertainment. Otherwise, he's an undercard fighter pretty much for the remainder of whatever his career and how long that goes. Filip Hrgovic is stateside in Miami training what looks to be out of Luis Ortiz trainer's gym, Herman Caicedo. He's with Cassius Chaney here and also Carlos Negron. And there is a lot of chatter that Hrgovic could return to face Zhang Jilei for the IBF final eliminator on the undercard of Joshua and Usyk in Saudi Arabia. We'll have to see. And rounding out this heavyweight news and notes mashup video, so Johann Duhaupas has undergone surgery on his left eye, and that was, of course, the same eye that was absolutely battered to a pulp by Zan Kossobutsky recently in their fight, which, of course, Duhaupas lost after getting beaten up by Kossobutsky. What do you make of it all? Drop a comment loud and often, hit like, hit subscribe, follow me on Twitter, boxing_squared. I'm out.